Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you all? I hope everyone is fine. Welcome to the new week. This is the 12th week of the semester. Uh, Today, we are going to discuss some new elements of the research design. If you remember that for the last 2 weeks, we are discussing the elements of research design. Means when you write a research report, when you write your findings of your research, how do you write them? What is the way that you compose them in your document? What is the proper way of composing that document? And what to add, what not to add, how to write each and every individual chapter of your research report. So, and if you remember, I told you guys that this is something very, very important because you guys are going to write your, obviously, you are the students of 7th semester, you are working on your researches right now, and the topics that you are exploring right now, they all are in the process of being explored and worked upon. You are researching them, you are making your research boards, you're making your storyboards, the whole process you're doing right now. At the same time, when you will be in the next semester, you will be when you will be finally submitting your thesis. This is not going to be just the practical work. You all have to do the theoretical work as well. And the theoretical part of your research is writing a research report. And when you write a research report, that definitely means that each and every part of your research that you are doing practically is actually added in your written work as well, because the whole process that you are going through, that you will be going through, you have gone through every step. You have to tell the reader that this is the whole process through which your research has gone through, and then finally you got these results. So basically, when you do a research, the doing of research is important, but the writing of that research is equally and sometimes more important. When I say it's more important, why I say this? Because actually. When you present your work somewhere, it's sometimes that you don't take your practical done work anywhere. As a student of fashion design, you all present your practical work in maybe some kind of a fashion show, or you may present your work in some gallery, in an art studio, any place. But at the same time, if we talk it academically, this is very important that you present your work, you show your work in some conference, you present and show your work through a document. That document is in the form of a book. You make a book, you write a book of your work, and that book is very helpful whenever you have to present your work anywhere in the world. So, writing that research report, writing that document, writing that book is actually very, very important. So, if you remember, the last week, when we started this topic, we actually discussed what is actually the contents of a research report, and what are the elements that a research design has in it. The first thing that we discussed last week, that was the title of the research. If you remember, we had a detailed discussion on how to write the title of your research. What is it that is necessarily to be included in the title? Why the title is important? Because this is something, the first thing that people look at, and they will get they will get the basic and first understanding of the topic, actually, of your research that you have done. So the title is very important. So coming to the next aspect of your research report, I may not call it a chapter, because this is just one pager, but this one pager is so important that this actually is a crux of your research report. This is called an abstract. So today we are going to discuss what an abstract is, how do we write an abstract, and what is the importance of abstract, why do we write an abstract, what actually must be contained in that abstract, why the abstract is not that long. Why don't we make a chapter of abstract? We can make a chapter of abstract as well. Why just we write just one page or abstract? So these all are the things that we are going to discuss today in this lecture. So hopefully, inshallah, when you will be going through this lecture, when you will watch this lecture, you will be able to write at least the first draft of the abstract of your work. One thing that is very, very important, that sometimes, in fact most of the times, people write the abstract in the end of their research. We will also discuss why they do so, because abstract is something that actually comes in the, like when you start your research report, a person opens your research book, the first thing that is looked upon is the title, right? After the title, you give the sorry, the dedication. Sometimes you give the dedication, means you dedicate your work to who? Maybe to someone that you love, maybe someone that you respect a lot, maybe a mentor of you, any person that is very important in your life. Can be the person who you dedicate your work to. Then you give the acknowledgements, means you want to acknowledge some people for your research. Means when you do your research, there are some people who are very helpful for you. They may be your teachers, they may be your friends, they may be your any person who, for example, you're researching a topic, and when you research that topic, the area, the place where you research, where you do your research, is the place where maybe some people actually were very helpful for you, and they help you to collect your information and do your research properly. So all those people are actually acknowledged when you complete your work, and when you write the acknowledgements. After the acknowledgements comes the table of contents. If you ever look at any book, when you open that book, you always find the table of contents. What is that table of contents? Table of contents is actually the table of all the contents that are present in that research report or in any book. So basically, what are the contents? What is contained in that writing? What is contained in that book? Whatever is added in the book in the next following chapters, all those headings, all those chapters are added in the table of contents. So this is the start of the research report. After the table of contents, the first thing that comes is the abstract. When you write the abstract is a one page document. This is, but when added in the start, is written in the end. Now you may ask that, if it is written in the end, why are you telling us right now? The reason being that we are actually going to discuss the abstract right now. You must know, you must understand what is an abstract, and you may definitely watch this lecture any time in your even in the next semester, whenever you want to when you have to write the abstract, when you have to finally compose your research, what you have to do is actually important. So but right now, what you will do after listening to this lecture, the first thing that I will be assigning you guys is to write an initial draft of the abstract of your research report. So this is something very important. So I'm going to tell you that what is an abstract and how are you going to do it. So, starting with the topic, today's lecture include how to write the abstract, and this is actually the whole topic of today, that you are how that you are going to write an abstract for your thesis or dissertation. First of all, as I told you guys that we always will, with every element of research design, whenever will be starting any element of research design, we will be going through this table, so as we always will get an idea how much have we done with this table, and how many topics we have done so far. So today, as in the last class we discussed the title is not included in this table. We are going to start with the first topic of this table, and that is the abstract. What is abstract? This table says that abstract actually summarizes your purpose and design of your research. Whatever is the purpose of your research, why have you done that research? Purpose always tells you why is. Why have you done some research? And the design means what steps did you follow to collect your information, and then what steps did you follow to finally present your work, means to evaluate your work. So this all is included. You actually give a summary of that. Remember, in school days, you guys used to write the summary of, for example, a poem is given or a story is given, and then you are asked to summarize that text. When you are asked to summarize the text, or when you are asked to summarize that poem, what do? The whole idea behind that poem is actually, when you give in a paragraph that this poem is about, for example, you are going to write the summary of a poem written by Wordsworth. A poem you all may have remember the poem Daffodils. I guess "आप सबके बीच text में वो होती थी." For example, there's a poem Daffodils, and that is written by Wordsworth, and you are summarizing that poem. So what will you write? First of all, you will discuss the main concept, that is of that poem. उस poem में हो क्या रहा है, what is being discussed, then the main point, and then how the poet actually took that idea of writing that poem. Where is the location of that poem? Where is that poem happening? What is the scenario being built? What is the actual feeling that is associated with it, with this poem? Now, this all can be written in many pages if you want to elaborate these things. But what if you want to discuss all that, but in a very summarized way? So this is actually when you write a summary of that poem. In the same way, when you discuss the content, the topic itself, how you did that topic, how you continued your research, how you conduct your research, how then you finally give your findings of your research. This all is when you give it in a summarized way. That is basically called the abstract. An abstract is a short summary of a longer work, such as a dissertation or research paper. The abstract concisely reports the aims and objectives and outcomes of your research, so that readers know exactly what the paper is about or your research is about. So what is an abstract? It's a short summary. It's a short summary of a longer work. Means if you have written a dissertation is, by the way, a research report is called a dissertation. If you have written a dissertation, or if you have written a research paper, when you write your dissertation or your research paper, that is a longer work, and when you summarize your work in a smaller paragraph, one or two, that is known as the abstract. The abstract concisely reports the aims means purpose, as your table said, the purpose, and the design means the outcomes of your research. What you did, why you did, how you did. So this basically what, why, and how are actually composed in a composed way. That's it. That is actually the composure. An abstract is a composure of these three words, and then you write that, so that your reader may exactly know what this research is about, what you did, how you did it, and why you did it. It is likely the first substantive description of your work read by an external examiner. Now, as a student, when you write your work, when you present your work in front of an audience, and but at the same time, when your work is presented in front of an audience, at the same time, your work is presented to an examiner as well. Because as a student, this is your requirement of the degree, and your work has to be represented to an examiner. So, what will the external examiner do? He or she will read the abstract first. So this is the first substantive description of your work, and that is the first thing that is being read. And that is why this document is very, very important. Write the abstract at the very end. When you are completed the rest of the text, there are four things you need to include. So one thing that is very important, that you must write the abstract at the very end. Um, why is this said so? Because when you are right now, as if you look at yourself right now, you're doing the research, you have started the process of research, you are doing it right now. um, each and every step you are doing, uh, during those steps, what happens is that sometimes you say that I selected this method to, for example, collect my information. In a week or two, you say that instead of this method, I might use another method to collect my information, because I have found that this method is more useful. This method is more effective. So, what is this happening? This is actually that you slightly have changed the methodology of your work. Okay, now you have collected your data. Now it's time to present your findings. It's time to finally evaluate give evaluations of your work, to give findings of your work. So what is it now that you have started writing your findings, and in a way or the other way, you find that this thing might be more effective to be written, this way is more effective to be written in. So what are you doing now? You are actually selecting the best appropriate choice that actually suits your research. So if you write the abstract in start, and you the abstract that you wrote in the start, you give that abstract, you actually add that abstract in your research book. I think that abstract will not be a true representation of your work. Why? Because you wrote it in the start of your research, and then when you did that research, there were a lot of things that you changed. आपने बहुत सारी बीच में चीजें चेंज की, आपने कभी कुछ किया, कभी कुछ किया, अभी कभी ये चेंज किया, कभी वो चेंज किया. तो हुआ क्या? This actually happened that this is the reason that you are asked to write the abstract in the end. But what I would suggest you guys, I would suggest you guys to write the abstract in the start. This would be an initial draft of you. Why am I asking you guys to write the abstract in the start? Because what I want you guys to practice your writing. Now, what you have to add in the abstract, I will be sharing one abstract of a research report that is done in your university, in our university. We will be discussing that abstract in the end. I will read out that abstract to you, and I will discuss what actually is being written in that abstract. Now we are going to discuss the most important thing, and that is four things you need to include in your abstract. So now, keeping in mind your topics, keeping in mind what you are doing in your research, and what you will be doing in your research, and finally what you will be doing, how you are going to present your work, everything that is in your mind, you are going to write that in the form of abstract. And then finally, when you will be done with your research, you will be writing your abstract again. And in that way, you are going to compare those two abstracts, and simply you are going to compare how much have you changed, how much have you been the same. So this is actually the reason why I want you guys to write the abstract right now. Okay, there are four things you need to include. Number one is your research problem and your objectives. If you remember, I told you guys in the last class, in the last week's class, that your research questions are actually your research objectives. If you remember that, if you have listened to your lecture carefully, you will get an idea. You may have get an idea that your research problem and your research objectives. What are they? Research problem is your research statement. So your abstract start with your research statement, and then it gradually comes to the point where you discuss what are your research questions, means what are your objectives, why are you doing this research. Objective always tells you why are you doing this research. There can be one, two, three, four, shouldn't be more than four or five objectives. So but your objectives in brief, 2 or 3 lines, you will add your research statement. Then comes your research objectives. Then your methods, how you conduct your research. Number 3 is your key results or arguments, means after applying that methodology, and when you got the results, what results did you get? So you are going to discuss your results. And finally, your conclusion, means you always, when you conduct a research, after giving your findings, you always give a conclusion. By the word conclusion, we means you always give a concluding statement that this is the research that was done in this area, in this domain, and this has been explored by this method. And through this research, the researcher tried to explore or tried to find out the hidden truths or the hidden treasures or hidden beauty, whatever. And and the researcher suggests some more exploration of this topic as well by the future researchers. So these are the kind of statements that you give in your conclusion, and this is how you format your abstract. Summary of the whole thesis. It represents all the major elements of your work in a highly condensed form. This is almost the repeat of the same thing. We are talking again and again the same thing. Why? Because this is something very, very important. Abstract is the summary of the whole thesis. आप समझो कि एक पैराग्राफ में आपने बताना है कि आपने क्या किया है पूरी रिसर्च में. When you go into the elaborate details of every chapter, you go into the detail of telling how you did this, how you did that. But the the very composed, summarized content of one page actually tells the reader, because sometimes the reader who picked your research report, he doesn't have time to go into the much detail. And if you ever have checked on different search engines of scholarly search engines, you may have find a link in the abstract. You instantly get an idea what is written in that report, what is exactly the content of the research report. So abstract is it's actually a highly condensed version of what you have done. An abstract often functions together with the thesis title as a stand-alone text. Why do we call it a stand-alone text? Actually, that is something that I just told you guys, that on internet different sites are there where the researchers give the title and the abstract. When they give the title and the abstract, this is the stand-alone text, means this is just this text that they give on internet into different scholarly search engines. And the reason being that people, when they look at the title along with the abstract, what they do, if they find that article interesting, they buy that article, they buy that research report, so as they may benefit from it. So this is how the research is done, and this is how you present your work in front of people, and this is how and this is why actually the abstract and the title are important, because this is the first phase of your research. So that is why it is called the stand-alone text. The abstract must be capable of substituting for the whole thesis. Now this is something this is a very big statement, because only your abstract, if someone reads your abstract, this your abstract must be strong enough that it must be capable of substituting your whole thesis. Means, instead of reading the whole thesis, if the person just reads the abstract of your thesis, he or she may get exactly what is written in the thesis. So this is actually, the statement shows the strength of the abstract, how an abstract must be strong. Size and structure. Currently, the maximum size for abstracts are 150 words for the master's thesis, and this can be different in different styles of writing. For example, if you are, if you're writing a research report for the PhD level, the length of the abstract can may have 300 words, but for the undergrad level or for the master's level, this is 150 words. So you write your abstract in 150 words, but this may vary with the institute to institute. Maybe your institute, if it calls for an abstract, they allow you an abstract for 200 words. You may write it in 200 words, but usually it falls under, as you are a student of social sciences or humanities, you come under the APA style. So the APA styles calls for 150 words for the writing of abstract. The structure of the abstract should mirror the structure of the whole thesis and should represent all its major elements. When we call the structure means, I will have to go back to the table. If you just look at this table, this is the structure of your thesis. Means the abstract first, one is the abstract, two is the introduction, three is the methodology, four is the result, five is the discussion, and six is the conclusion. This is the structure of your thesis. So your abstract must follow the structure of the whole thesis. Means your abstract should tell us what your topic is, then it must tell us what the methodology you adopted, then it must tell what the findings are, then it must just literally very briefly discuss the discussion on the findings, and then finally it must discuss the conclusion. So basically, the structure of the abstract actually mirrors the structure of the whole thesis, and this is something very important. And it should have all the elements, major elements of the research. It must represent all the major elements of the research. Clearly specify your research questions. Number one, and that is very important, is when you're writing your abstract, always clearly specify what your research questions are. Means, what do you want to ask in your research? What have you tried to explore? आपने किया क्या है, आप करना क्या चाह रहे हो? So this is, जो करना चाह रहे हो, this is actually your research question. So when you ask that question in your abstract, clearly specify your research question. This is Very, very important. Okay. The next is, don't forget the results. Sometimes, in an attempt to just write that this is my topic, this has been explored, this area has been explored. I have taken, the researcher has taken this methodology to explore this and that and this topic is very interesting and important, and many different aspects have been explored. Now, this is not a complete abstract because you actually forgot to add the results, to add the findings. After doing all that research, what did you find? आपकी findings क्या थी? What did you what were the aspects that you have finally explored? Tell us your results. So your abstract must also include the results of your findings. A good abstract is short but impactful, yes? So make sure every word counts. Each sentence should clearly communicate one main point. Again, again, and again. This is actually told you many a times that abstract is a small content. It's just 150 words. If you start writing, you will see that 150 words actually finishes very quickly. So you have to state the title. Then you have to tell the research objectives, means your research questions. Then you have to tell the methodology. Then you have to tell the findings. You briefly have to discuss your findings, and then you have to give the recommendations. When you are in a process of discussing all this, what happens? That you may get you may get a little longer in your document, or what happens is that you say, oh, my abstract is getting so long, I guess I must omit some information. So in the process of making your document smaller, you sometimes miss the important information, and that is a wrong step. So you shouldn't do this. So basically, try to make sure that each and every word counts, means whatever you write in your abstract, each and every word is having a meaning of its own. A good abstract is short. It is short, but it is impactful. Each sentence should clearly communicate one main point. एक जुमले में बात हमें अच्छी समझ आ जाए कि आप कहना क्या चाह रहे हो. This is the feeling of an abstract. That abstract is a to the point document. It shouldn't be having unnecessary details. The purpose of the abstract is to report the original contributions of your research. So avoid discussion of others' work. This is a mistake that many students do. Sometimes, in an attempt to write the abstract of your work, आप करते क्या हो? That this has been done in a research on the falana has done a research on this topic, and he has added this. Excuse me, you are actually discussing someone else's work. You are not supposed to do that. You are actually writing the abstract of your work. So you have to add the important details of your work, not of others. So please, when you write the abstract, kindly report just the original contributions of your work, means what you exactly have done in your work, and don't discuss others' work. Maybe this may sound a little surprising to you right now. Why will we be discussing others' work? But when you write review literature, review literature is a chapter when you discuss others' work. And sometimes people get highly mistaken by adding whatever they have written in the review literature. They add that as well in the abstract, and that is a wrong approach. Checklist for the abstract. This is the checklist for your abstract. Means when you write an abstract. Now I'm telling you guys that you guys are going to, based on your topic, you are going to write the abstract of your research. This would be an initial abstract of your research, because definitely you haven't got your findings right now. You haven't you how if you don't have your findings right now in front of you, how can you discuss them? But this all is a proposed actually plan. You have a proposed plan with you, what your topic will be, how will you do it, how will you research it, How will you collect the information? How will you do the research? How will you, what findings will you, uh, when the findings will come, how are you going to present your findings? So this all are the steps that you already have proposed in when you thought of a topic. So now, when you write an initial document, go through this checklist. What is checklist? As I told you guys before, checklist is something that you always go through when you want to, when you do something. For example, you're going for a journey. You made your bag. You made your suitcase ready. Just make a checklist. Have I placed all my clothes? Have I placed all my important things? Have I placed all my shoes that are needed? Have I placed, so do I have enough money in my purse? Do I have all my credit cards? So this is actually the checklist. So whenever you do an important thing, always go through a checklist for that work, because that will actually guide you through the step by step of that, so you may not forget anything that was important and that was being overlooked just because of a kind of hurry, or sometimes we have to add so many things in our document that we sometimes may get overlooked by something. So this is the checklist that we have with us. Number one is the word count. You have to look for, when you're writing, when you're typing your document in Word, when you are finished with your abstract, look at the words, look at the word count that is given in the at the base of your document. How many words, as how many pages is given, how many words is also given. So the word count is within the required length, or a maximum of one page. So basically, if no one gives you mm, uh, um, a limit of word count, no one gives you the required length, no one gave you this is your word count maximum, then what you have to do, follow the one page abstract. This shouldn't go more than one page. At your level, at this level that you are doing research, you are not supposed to write an abstract more than one page. I would suggest that must take three-fourths of the page, not more than that. This is more than enough for you guys to write the abstract of your work. So in your checklist, the first thing that you have to check is the word count. Number two is, I have summarized the most important. Sorry, this will be coming later. The second point is the abstract appears after the title page and acknowledgements and before the table of contents. Okay, so they say that the abstract comes before the table of contents. You write the title page. First, you add the title page, then you add the acknowledgements, for example, the dedication, the acknowledgement, and then after that, you add your abstract, and then table of contents comes. Sometimes table of contents come and then the abstract come. This may come in both ways, but according to their checklist, they say that you add your abstract and then you add your table of contents. This is okay in both cases. Okay, now this would be the second point is something that you will finally check when you will be composing your research report. I have clearly stated my research problem and objectives. Now, these are the 4 points that we discussed in the previous slides, the 4 important things that are to be added: the research problem and objectives, the methodology, the findings, and the conclusions. So now you are going to check the content of the abstract. The number one thing that you check the word count. Number two thing, when composing your document, you check that you added your abstract after the acknowledgements and title and before the table of contents. So maybe it may come after table of contents. Number three is, I have clearly stated my research problem and objectives. Do you have clearly stated your research problem and objectives? This is what you have to check. If you have checked, that means this is tick. Yes, you have done that. The next is, I have briefly described my methodology. Means whatever method you have selected to collect your information, to conduct your research, that methodology will be discussed in your abstract, but very briefly. Number 5 is I have summarized the most important results. After definitely discussing the methodology, the next thing you will be discussing is the are the results of your research. Then I have stated my main conclusions. When after writing your results, the next thing will be that you will be writing your conclusions of your research. Next is I have mentioned any important limitations and recommendations. Now, if you remember, we discussed the word limitations earlier as well. Otherwise, when I will be discussing the chapter of introduction with you guys, I will tell you what the limitations are. But what are the limitations? Means, for example, if you say that I have for example, if you say that I am exploring the aquatic life, I guess last week we made a example दी थी, so I will be sticking myself to this example again. If you say that I have been exploring the aquatic life, but were you exploring the whole aquatic life? Because the whole aquatic life contains a lot of fish, a lot of plants, a lot of herbs. There's a lot of life under sea. So are you exploring all that? Maybe your title, to just to make your title a little fantasizing, you may add the word aquatic life, the beauty of aquatic life, for example. But then in the subtitle or in the abstract, you will be clearly mentioning that I have just explored, for example, the jellyfish, for example, whatever you're working on. आप जिस भी किसी एक टाइप ऑफ फिश पे काम कर रहे हो, you have to tell your limitations in your work, that you haven't taken the whole aquatic life, you just have taken the one or two species of the fish. And recommendations, definitely. For example, if you want to give some recommendations to the future researchers, your recommendations must also be included the in your abstract. This is very important because बार बार मैं आपको समझा रही हूँ, abstract is something which people look at as the first document and sometimes the only document of your research. Because if you have given your abstract and title on different scholarly research sites, what happens is people are just able to read the title and the abstract of your thesis. They are not going to they don't have the क्या कहना चाहिए, वो आपको document को approach ही नहीं कर सकते हैं. You actually have not allowed them to open your document. So basically, if you want to give some recommendations to the future researchers, this is the point, in that if someone is reading the abstract of your work, he must get those recommendations. And then finally, the abstract can be understood by someone without prior knowledge to the topic. This is very important. Your abstract must be written in a language, in those words. For example, a person doing research in some kind of medicine, in some kind of illness, some kind of disease, if he writes his abstract in pure technical language, no one else from the medical field will be able to understand that. So, why not to give your research and especially the abstract of your research in a language that is quite understandable by the general public as well, so that definitely when you will be writing your whole document, you will definitely use a lot of technical language, because this is a thesis. For example, you guys are fashion students, you definitely add some terms and terminology and words which is purely technical, which people who are not from the fashion field will not be able to understand. But what is the importance and what is the point of adding those technical terminology to your abstract? Because in this way, people will get will lost their interest in your document. So this is very important, that when you write your abstract, you must write your abstract in a language that is understandable by many when they read the document. And this shouldn't be important that they have the prior knowledge of that subject. So, coming to the end of writing an abstract, we have actually discussed all the important aspects and elements of writing, how to write a research abstract of a research report. I am going to share an example of an abstract. I'm going to just give a read to this document, and this definitely is going to be shared with you guys in your classroom. You all can have a look at this document, this abstract, and you definitely will get a very good idea how to write an abstract of your research. Now this is written in a very small text. I hope this, when you will be reading this, you will get a better idea how to what is written in that. Why have I given this abstract to you guys? So as when you read this, you will be in a better position to write the abstracts of your own. This is a research. Again, if you remember, in the last class when we were writing the title, we discussed the title of a research that was done by a student of our university, and she did explore the architectural beauty of a historical building that was Haveli Non Singh, that is located in Lahore. It's in the inner walled city of Lahore, and she actually explored the architecture of that Haveli, and out of that she explored that Haveli, the different architectural aspects, and then she made the fashion attires. So for her thesis, the abstract that she has written, now you kindly listen to this carefully and read this carefully, you will be getting a very good idea how to write the abstract of your thesis. Whenever we think about the history of Lahore, we get a glimpse of famous architectures like Badshahi Mosque, Food Street, Lahore Fort, etc. But we don't focus on the other ancient historical architecture that are moving to an end day by day. So, to enlighten the less entertained historical architecture, the researcher chose the Haveli of Nonehal Singh. It is the significant example of Sikh architecture in Lahore, architecture which the researcher narrates is the splendid Haveli situated inside the old walled city, located between historic Bhati and Lahori Gate, where once Mori Gate stood. Haveli consists of four stories that are entirely bedecked with colorful designs and elements of different artworks. The researcher aim is to explore its richness and the eccentric architecture and accomplished through divergent cut lines. The research has been conducted through personal observation, photography, and visits. The observation of researcher publicized that the Haveli is a combination of different artworks of countries that surrounds the subcontinent. This thesis explores the ancient architecture of Haveli. The researcher executes four garments through varied techniques, surfaces, and outlandish embellishments. Through these garments, the researcher wants to depict the forgotten beauty and ancientness of the architecture of Haveli. Now, this is the abstract of the thesis. If you look at this abstract, if you start with the abstract, in the start, she has given a little brief of why this topic has been chosen. She says that, that the famous architectures of Lahore include some other buildings, but she has taken one because which is moving to an end day by day because it has less focus of the world on it. Even inside the country, it has been less focused on. Then she wants to enlighten the less entertained historical architecture. Then she tells us what exactly she is doing. That she says this is an exact significant example of Sikh architecture. The architecture that she has explored, she tells us that this where it is located. Now, if you look at it, this is a brief paragraph, and in this brief paragraph, actually she has added everything. From there, she she came to the methodology of the research. The researcher aim is to explore its richness and the eccentric architecture and accomplished through divergent cut lines. The research has been conducted through personal observation. Now, this is her methodology: personal observation, photography, and visits. The observation of researcher publicized that the Haveli is a combination of different artworks of countries that surrounds the subcontinent. From this sentence, the findings have started. This is her finding, that when she observed, when she photographed, when she did visits, when she collected her information, what she found out, that the Haveli is a combination of different artworks of countries that surround the subcontinent. Then she says that this thesis explores the ancient architecture of Haveli. The Haveli's ancient architecture has been explored. She says the researcher executes four garments. As she's a student of fashion, she has explored four garments through varied techniques, surfaces, and outlandish embellishments. Now, she also has told us that what is the mode of execution. Mode of execution is the attires that four garments has been made, and what she is using. She is using different techniques and different surface embellishments. Through these garments, the researcher wants to depict the forgotten beauty and ancientness of the architecture of Haveli. So, in the end, in the last line, she again tells us that why has she taken this topic and why she has made these dresses, because through these dresses she wants to depict the forgotten beauty of the architecture and ancientness of the of that Haveli. So this is, I will not say that this is a perfect abstract. Maybe in the future, maybe in your interactive class, I might be sharing another one or two abstracts with you guys, so as you may get a clear and a perfect idea that abstract, it's not necessary that this is not a formula for writing an abstract, but the only formula that you have with you to write an impressive abstract is to add your statement in a good way, then you add your objectives, then add your methodology, then tell us about your findings, then tell us some recommendations if you have. She hasn't added any recommendation for the future designers. Okay, you can, you may not, but this is a good thing that you at the end you add some recommendations as well for your future designers. So this is a good example of abstract. So this is all about the topic of abstract today. I hope you guys have understood what and how to write what is an abstract, what is the importance of abstract, why do we write an abstract, we write the abstract in the end, and what are the important elements of the of writing an abstract, what must be added in an abstract. So this all is that we actually have discussed today. So I'm going to give you guys an assignment as well, but in the Thursday's class, when we will be meeting in an interactive session, I would require you guys to write the initial draft of your of whatever research you are doing, whatever your topic is, as you guys are already working on your research titles, and you are going to submit your research titles by your next interactive class. But in the next interactive class, you guys are going to work on writing the abstract of your report, of your work. I hope you guys understand what is an abstract and how to write an abstract. If still any questions and any queries and any ambiguities, you can definitely ask me by asking questions in the classroom. You can definitely discuss that in the interactive classes. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.